Good morning everyone, today we're going to be talking about augmentation boosts and where to obtain them. But before we jump into all of that, if you're new to the channel, I upload NGS content daily, so if you do play this game, I would really appreciate a subscribe as it really helps out the channel. Anyway, without further ado, let's begin the video. Alright, so the very first thing I want to talk about are, of course, all of the N augmentation success rates. So there is a 5%, 10%, 15%, 20%, 30%, as well as 40%. Now, I am going to be assuming that the majority of you guys are fully free to play. So if you are fully free to play, the most accessible one is going to be the N augmentation success rate plus 10%. In order to obtain this, it's very simple. You simply come to the item trader over here, and under item exchange, scroll to the very bottom, there is the N augmentation success rate plus 10%. Now, do keep in mind you are limited to 3 per week over here in order to get this. However, it does not cost much at all. You simply exchange 10 golden prim swords, the regular ones, not golden prim swords 2, in order to exchange for one of these augmentation success rates plus 10%. So in order to obtain all 3 of these, you are going to need 30 golden prim swords 1, just the regular golden prim sword, okay? However, I'm sure the majority of you guys don't really care about the 10% ones, you really care about the 20% as well as, of course, the 40%. So the first one, the 20% one, is going to be a little bit difficult to obtain as a fully free-to-play player. The reason for this is because they are locked behind the scratches. So for example, the special scratch, the current special scratch that you can earn these tickets by running the urgent quest and all of that stuff, as you can see at the very bottom down here, there is an augmentation success rate plus 20%. So this is where you obtain all the 15% boosters as well as the 20% boosters. However, you are at the mercy of RNG as there is only a 1% drop rate for this. But you can use your selector ticket to pick this item if you really want to, but I do not recommend it. I recommend people to spend their selector tickets on the 100 star gems. The reason I say this is because there's a thing called the scratch count bonus. So when we go over to the refined form October 2024, this is the current SG scratch. When we head over here to the scratch count bonus, you can see right here, after you scratch 10 times, which will cost you 500 star gems, you actually get an N augmentation success rate plus 40%. Now, do keep in mind that the refined form October 2024, or the SG scratch in general, you always get a daily free SG pull over here. Unfortunately, this free pull over here does not contribute to the 10 pulls over here, alright? If you want to get these 10 pulls in order to get your N augmentation success rate plus 40%, you are going to need to pay the 500 SG to get it. However, in my personal opinion, I think if it is 10 pulls or under, it is always worth it because this 40% is pretty rare. Even as a premium member, the only way to obtain any of these augmentation success rate plus 40% is from the scratch count bonuses. So if you do want those 40% because you want to gamble for your augments, or you are attempting some end game augments, for example, your Gland Gigas Mass Days or your Lux Hal Finales, or just any of your super high end augments, then it's definitely in your best interest to use a 40% booster, especially if you're a fully free-to-play player. The reason I say this is because as a fully free-to-play player, you probably do not have a lot of N augmentation item protections. Remember, the N augmentation item protection actually saves your augment if it fails. It will still consume the booster as well as the item protection. However, at the very least, it won't consume your expensive capsule. For example, your Lux Hal Finale, your Gland Gigas Mass Day, or your Grand Gladia Soul. Like, those augments are very expensive, so it won't consume those, but it'll consume these 2 items instead, the booster as well as the item protection. Now, if you're looking for these augment item protections, as a fully free-to-play player, you are time gated on this. You need to go to item recycle over here, scroll to about the middle, and you can see right here under the augmentation success rate plus 15%, there is an augmentation item protection. However, do not be fooled by the 40 AC scratch items. You're simply going to click in here and click on the second option here where it requires 40 SG scratch items. Remember that one free SG pull that you get every single day. If you get any duplicates, you can turn them into SG recycle badges, which you can in turn use them in order to pick up this item. So if we need 40 over here, you can see right here, boom, we put in 40 and bam, we're able to obtain our N augmentation item protection. However, do keep in mind that you are limited to 1 per month here. So you are extremely time gated. So as a fully free to play player, this item is incredibly difficult to get mainly because, well, this is the only way you can get it. However, if you are a premium member, there is a chance of obtaining it from the treasure shop through the SG treasure shop. The reason the free-to-play players cannot buy them is because it's going to be in the yellow category over here, where you have to be a premium member in order to purchase it. So even as a free-to-play player, when you refresh this, there is a chance of it popping up here, but you won't be able to purchase it because you're not a premium member. Now, the next big question I get asked by a lot of players is, should I gamble for my augments or should I do the guaranteed method? Personally, I think gambling is the way to go, because if you have to go the guaranteed method, it becomes incredibly expensive. So let me explain first of all, what does it mean to gamble? If you are to gamble, you simply use one augment. As you can see, for example, the Lux Hal Finale. This is an expensive augment. With a single capsule, it has a 7% success rate, as you can see right here. In order to gamble, what you do is you put in that augment, you do start a fixed augment, and you put in a booster. So for example, you put in a 40% booster, and that 7% chance becomes 47%. What I tend to do is I like to use 20% boosters. However, this is because I tend to have more of these end augmentation item protections. If you are very low on this, maybe you should use the 40% so that you don't need to gamble as much. Now, the issue with this gambling method is you have to do one augment at a time. The reason I say this is because if you put multiple augments, let's say that you have, Lux Hal Finale, Gland Gigas Maste, as well as Grand Gladius Soul, you've got all three of the super high-end augments, they all have 7% chance, and then you put them in, and then you also put a 40% booster, so they're all 47%. If any one of those 47% fail, it refunds all three capsules. The ones that succeed will not stick on your weapon or armor. It refunds everything, all right? So it's very, very important that if you are using the end augmentation item protection, that you are very careful, because that's how it works. However, if you're gambling without the end augmentation item protection, it will stick on the weapon or the armor for any that do succeed. So by choosing not to use the end augmentation item protection, it is a high risk, high reward. However, if you do decide to use the augmentation item protection, you do need to go one capsule at a time in order to get the best value. Now, for my crazy friends who do not want to gamble at all, there is a method to guarantee your augments. However, it is like 10, 20 times the cost. It's actually ridiculous how expensive it is. It's simply, you see the success rate is 7% for the Lux Hal Finale. You farm up 10 Lux Hal Finales. You put all 10 in, it becomes a 70% success rate. Once it's at a 70% success rate, you put a 20% booster, you wait for an augmentation boost campaign going on where you get an additional 10%. So that way you get a 30% total boost, and boom, you have a 100% success rate that way. However, do understand you need 10 Lux Hal Finales, which is a metric butt ton of Meseta as well as time investment in order to farm that much. So personally, I do not recommend the guaranteed method, simply because you are paying significantly more versus if you're gambling. However, I do understand that some people are just cursed, and no matter what they do, and every time that they gamble, they fail. And if you do fail 10 times in a row, well, it might be better if you just use the guaranteed method if you know you're going to fail 10 times in a row. So it really depends on your personal RNG as well as, how lucky you feel.
Special thanks to all the members for supporting the channel. It really means a lot to me. Thank you again.
But yeah, that's all I wanted to cover in today's video. Hopefully you guys found it helpful. If you did, I would appreciate a like and a subscribe. And I'll see you guys in tomorrow's video. Bye.